Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Sharice Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Sharice Walker, and today I'm here with Dr. Gina Simmons Schneider. And we were talking before for a little bit, and I'm excited to get to talk to you because I love what you do and what you offer people. So why don't we start out by you introducing yourself and what you do?
Thank you. I am a licensed psychotherapist and a coach, an executive coach, and I specialize in helping people manage conflicts and really difficult situations in the workplace. And I'm also a corporate trainer. So we do a lot of training in conflict management, anger management, stress management, all the big, hard things to deal with. Yes, and I'm also the author of a book called Frazzlebrain, Break Free from Anxiety, Anger, and Stress Using Advanced Discoveries in Neuropsychology. So Frazzlebrain is really about helping people manage anxiety and anger and stress and all those things that dysregulate us and make us feel off balance and not cope very well.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm glad that you brought the book up because I love the title of it, because how often do we not feel like that? And how do we avoid that?
The word of our day, frazzled, and Frazzlebrain is really about also how that affects our concentration and our ability to problem solve. So that's why I came up with the term Frazzlebrain, because I think everybody can relate to it.
It's true. And I'm actually probably going to use that a lot this week. It's the end of the year, and people are going to listen to this at all different times. But end of the school year for my kids, they all just got out last Thursday. Thank heavens. I'm letting them just relax today, and we'll go do something fun. But there's so many times that we all get that frazzle brain. And I think with mompreneurs, like, you're trying to manage a household and children and the business. And so what are some things that you would give for advice to those women?
I think it's really important to give to yourself to start the day with something for yourself. I think a lot of times moms, of course, when you have really young children, the children dictate when you get up in the morning. It's 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m. But once your children are school age, I think it's really important to give yourself some few minutes where you have time to settle your brain, maybe take a brief walk, maybe combine. I know a lot of parents try to combine taking their kids to school with a walk for themselves too. And after they get the kids to school, they take a brief walk. But if you can give a little bit to yourself every day, you are, especially first thing, then you feel like you're a little more filled up and you can cope with the rest of the day. So sometimes it's getting up 15 minutes early to sit in bed and meditate, or make sure you have some breakfast, feed yourself. I think what happens is a lot of times moms feel like we have to put ourselves last. We're an afterthought. If we have a little extra time, we can do something for ourselves. And over time, that helps us build resentment and burnout and all those things that really diminish our ability to achieve all the things we want to achieve. So if you can structure your life so you give a bit to yourself first thing, and that can be anything that fulfills you. For some women, it's a cup of tea in backyard, just looking at a tree, but something that gives you something for yourself. Then you're more likely to not collect that resentment, and you're more likely also to have a little bit more extra energy for everything else you have committed.
I 100% agree with that. I had 4 kids from the first husband, and then I had 2 from the second, right? And so there's an age gap. My oldest are 24, my youngest is 9. And the mom that those 4 had, or even the first 2 had, is very different than the mom that these younger 2 have. And not in a bad way or anything, but I think sometimes we try to be this all perfect type person, and then you do get burned out. So I've had to connect myself. Okay, these girls deserve the same mom that the other ones had. And so how, when you talk about positive emotions like awe and wonder, how can these things help you heal and get out of that frazzle brain?
Well, one of the most exciting things that I discovered in the research and the neuropsychology of emotions is that when we can generate even mild contentment, even the mild contentment you might feel just putting your feet up and having a cup of tea or coffee, that when we can generate even mild contentment or joy, pleasure, that it actually counteracts the negative effects of stress. So our bodies are built to handle stress. Well, we get aroused, we have stress, we feel a moment of panic, but we need those positive emotions to calm us back down, calm our nervous system back down, and it lowers inflammation and stuff. Well, we know that feelings of awe and wonder, like you might feel if you saw a wondrous thing in nature. First time I saw Niagara Falls, it was just like the power and wonder of this incredible place, or looking up at the stars and imagining the infinite universe. There's just so many moments where we can watch an exquisite performance in sports or entertainment, and we feel just this sense of awe. Well, that has a positive effect socially. It tends to make us connect more with other people and generate a little bit of humility, which in our nervous system, because we're humbled when we look at the stars or we see something really awe-inspiring, we see ourselves maybe as just a little piece of the universe. We're not the whole universe, you know. And that sort of self-centered view that we can sometimes get when we're really overwhelmed with negative emotions, we can be very, if we're in physical pain or something, we can be very, very self-centered because we just can't stop thinking about the suffering we're feeling, right? And so we know that things like awe and wonder can actually lower physical pain, our experience of pain, and make us feel better physically, and it lowers inflammation. So that's pretty powerful. And we can do that consciously. We don't have to wait around for a moment. We can look for moments of awe and appreciation of the beauty around us and things like that.
I never put that together, but it's true. It was my husband, my anniversary. The only thing my husband, I shouldn't say the only, but the main thing that he loves to do is go fishing, right? And so we had all these things that we didn't really get to celebrate because trying to clean out a garage, dealing with our rentals. And then he's like, I am going fishing on this lake because it was by one of our rentals. We didn't get there till like 8:50 at night, right? So it's almost dark. It's the good time the catfish are biting, but we get out there and I usually don't go with him because I'm always busy doing something else. And I feel like I'm wasting my time just sitting there when I could be doing 1,000 other things. But it was our anniversary. I was going to do something nice. So I go and I sit there with him. I hold the pole and tell him if something's biting. And right before that, I snapped a picture because we hadn't taken a picture at all. And he was getting ready to cast his line. He looks at me. And so I snapped the picture and he casts. You see, like it was the sunset going down. And it's just
Oh,
gorgeous oranges and reds and stuff. And it's getting ready to go down. The love of my life is standing there, getting ready to do what he
oh,
loves. And I never thought about that because that was awe to me. That was something that
oh,
I'm so
yeah.
grateful, and I'm like, I don't forget everything else that's going around. I'm going to focus on this moment with him together. It's totally getting emotional, but I think that those are things because, I'm not somebody that always feels well, and I know it's because of stress. And so he tends to not be very stressed very much at all, especially if he just comes back from fishing. And so that is truth. Like I can testify what you're saying without doing the studies. Like, thank you for sharing that because now I have to make sure I find awe every single day.
Well, it's wonderful to hear you describe that. And it was really touching to me. It does bring tears to our eyes when we experience the love and wonder of a beautiful moment. And you had to be present for that, right? You had to be paying attention. You had to look. You had to notice. And so I do think sometimes in this frazzle brain state, we fail to notice the opportunities
Yeah.
like that for beauty.
Mhm.
So if we can intentionally do that, we're going to feel a little less frazzled, a little more expanded, and it does help lower our experience of pain and suffering.
And that's something I call it the HAS method that I created, where you halt. Like if you're feeling stress or anger, you halt, like stop. halt, and then acknowledge. So that's the A, acknowledge how I'm feeling, what I'm doing, and then, shift that thinking into something being grateful. Because sometimes, we get so overwhelmed, and it's really easy. Like I opened up my email today and a lot of bad news, and I'm like, dang,
Mhm.
okay, and so how can we turn this into a positive and get back into the game? And so I think that when we focus on the negative, we just become more negative. Whereas if we focus on the positive, better things come of it. And so,
Well, and I think sometimes what I've found to be even more helpful than that, you're right, positive thinking is really helpful. What I found even more helpful is trying to think in a non-judgmental way. Like you've got an email and you're the one that decides that it's a bad thing.
oh, I like that.
So in a way, our brain is always evaluating and interpreting. And as soon as we're evaluating, interpreting, judging, we're away from reality. We're
Yeah.
now in the movie in our head.
Mhm.
And we're playing out a movie of, oh, the results of this are going to be really bad for our business, or oh no, the teacher wants to talk to me about my child, there must be something wrong. And we're building this story, right? And the more that we are in those judgments, evaluations, we're actually pulled away from reality and we see less of what's going on. So one of the things that I've been working on is what are the words I'm using to describe what's happening?
Okay.
And if you really look at it, you get an email.
Mhm.
We don't have to decide it's positive or negative. And there's this old, I think it's an old Buddhist story about the farmer and his son. And this farmer has a son, and everybody goes, oh, how great, you have a son. He can help you work and all that in the fields. And the farmer goes, perhaps. And then the son grows up and is a really good rider on the horse, and everybody's praising him, and the how everybody in the village says, great, you've got a son that can ride and do all these things. And the farmer says, perhaps. And then the son gets bucked off the horse and breaks his leg, and everyone's going, oh, how terrible, your son broke his leg. And the farmer says, perhaps. And then the military comes through to conscript all of the young men to war, and the son is overlooked because he has, a broken leg and can't go to war. And everyone then, of course, has an opinion about that, right? And so that idea of this might be good, this might be bad, it might be neutral. We're the ones that sort of describe it. And in a way, we're only describing a moment in time. We're not actually describing reality.
Mhm.
We're describing our feelings in a moment in time. So the more we attach to that, the more stress we feel. So a lot of times it's helpful to think about, maybe I don't need to judge this email as, maybe there's an opportunity here. Maybe it's just neutral. Maybe it's not that big a deal.
Right. I love that. And I think, and we don't have enough time to really touch on this very much, but I do want to talk about how you and I used to volunteer at a suicide hotline, right? I did it in college.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about that moment in time, because when people are in the hardest place in their mental life and they cannot think forward, I love how you focus on that's a moment in time. That doesn't mean that it is in the future, and like hang on, right? Because so many times we get so focused, hyper focused, like I don't know, I'm thinking of like this donkey in the mud and he's just not moving, right? He can't get out, or he's pulling this wagon, and you know this too shall pass, and eventually something else will come of it, and whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen. And so yeah, it's true.
And like they say in the suicide business, that you don't want to make a permanent decision on the basis of temporary emotional state. And we can't, even if we try, stay in an emotional state forever. Even our lowest emotional state, we can't even stay there. So that is a really important thing to remember, that no matter how much we're suffering, it'll pass. And so will the joy too.
Yeah.
But what's really, really empowering is to think about how we can amplify our joy,
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
like we amplify our suffering by ruminating on it and thinking about the insult that our, loved one made, or whatever, the things that we make a big deal out of. Well, you can, just like you remembered that moment of awe with your husband on the fishing boat and your anniversary, we can amplify that joy. And you were able to experience a version of it just in telling it to me, right? So we can give ourselves permission intentionally to amplify the joy in our life with our photographs
Mhm.
and the precious moments with our children and reliving those in our conversations and in our memory. And that's also a very healthy way to regenerate a little bit of that mild joy and contentment
Mhm.
that helps with everyday stress.
Mosquitoes are a big thing where we live. We moved a year ago, and where we live, like my kids get these Popeye arms now and Popeye legs because we have such a bad reaction to mosquitoes. And so my daughter was telling me the other day, she goes, Why do we have to have mosquitoes? Like, why did God give us mosquitoes?
I've asked that question many times.
Because I found out they can eradicate them, and we're like, do it. But they won't. So we started talking about for the good, there's always bad because we don't know the good without the bad. And we don't know, if we have bliss all the time, then we're never going to be grateful for the bliss. And so we do have to have an opposite in all things. And I think that that's the same thing here is that, you know, yes, we can have joy. And I like how you said, but that will go away. And it's because we'll have sadness. And why? So that we can experience joy again. It's just like having a baby. That pain is not fun, or a kidney stone is not fun. Kidney stone we won't even talk about, but baby, I had six. And so obviously that pain was short term, and I would do it again because I did to have the baby again. And so I think that that's where we need to focus. Life is about the roller coaster, the ups and downs. It's not just about always having the highs because you do need the
The
lows.
bitter and the sweet, the bitter and the sweet. And sometimes the bitter and the sweet comes at us at the same time, right?
It's true.
You get your big publishing deal like I did during COVID, you know. So, you get, your son or daughter wins an award at school the same day that your house floods. So, this is how life comes at us. And so I think the more agile we can become in our intentions to aim ourselves in the direction we want to go, we can ride out those emotional waves um, with less suffering.
I like that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to do something that might be difficult because I just got done writing my book and published it. And if someone were to say, like, narrow it down, but what are like three things that we should know? Because I don't want, or even just one, because then that way they have to go get the book. Um, that you would feel is very useful that we could use in our day-to-day life.
I think there's three things I would say. Start with intentional thoughts. Aim your thinking and the language you're using in the direction of your goals.
Mhm.
So, instead of saying, I can't do this right now, or I can't do it, say, I can find out how.
Okay. Mhm.
Um, Instead of, why can't I do blank, say, how can I do blank? So you're aiming your thinking in the direction of moving forward. I think then intentional behaviors that are in alignment with your goals. So if you want to be healthier, do something that's good and healthy for you every day. It sounds silly, but if we are taking some action every day, doesn't have to be perfect, but something, eating more vegetables, whatever, we can do that. And we're going to make progress over time. And then the third thing is seek out healing experiences on purpose.
Yeah.
A lot of times we'll accidentally have a healing experience, like an experience of awe and wonder, but we can seek them out on purpose. So a healing experience might be meditation. It might be a loving moment with our spouse. If we're seeking out these moments of connection and healing, again, over time, that has a cumulative effect.
I agree with that. And you desire it more and more. Like I have been very intentional spending more time with my kids, and now I find myself saying, you know what, I'm not going to do that. Or no, because I want to spend time with my kids versus something else. So I like that accumulation. Well, what's something I have not asked you that I should have?
I think I don't know if I would put should on you. We call that shoulding on ourselves, or and there are no shoulds. There's just maybe there's an opportunity for me to talk a little bit about the power of visualization in making things happen. I love the Goethe quote, which is whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius power and magic in it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So I think we have to visualize what we want and then just start. And there's a lot of power in that. So I think what I've learned from all my neuroscience research is that our thinking, it starts with how we're thinking. And we need to aim our thoughts in the direction we want to go, not in the direction we don't want to go.
I like that. I like that. And thank you for doing so much research. And, because a lot of us don't do that, but we need to know how our minds work. We need to know what we do. And it's an incredible industry that I wish I would have experienced a little more. And so I'm glad that you've done that so you can teach us as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you have this great podcast for moms.
Well,
I wish I had it years ago.
I know the goal is I want to be able to create a community where women can support each other and listen and hopefully make their day better every single day. So thank you for coming on. And Unbreakable Moms, I would love for you to actually, we didn't talk about this, but how do they find you if they wanted to get a hold of you?
Frazzlebrain.com, Frazzlebrain, one word. You can find all my social media links there. And I do get back to people if you want to ask a question or write to me. I always get back to people. So you can find it all there. It's real easy. And you can get Frazzlebrain wherever books are sold too. It's available everywhere.
I am going to actually go purchase my copy today. I love that. So, Mom, if you are looking for a pick-me-up or you're looking for something to be able to get you started again, then please reach out to Dr. Gina Simmons Schneider and go pick up a copy of her book, Frazzlebrain. Go out and make it a great day. Thank you. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.